next to your commercial invoice is your packing list. Now packing list, as the name indicates, it will be having the entire description about the date of shipment, the mode of transportation, the carrier which is taking this consignment, the itemized record of quantity. Let us suppose there have been 10 items or 10 sort of your commodities in a consignment. So the listing about each and every commodity, its quantity, its price, the type of package that being used, so the total net and the gross weight. So everything, the dimensions, the marking, everything will be mentioned out into this packing list. So basically this is a more detailed and an informative version than any other standard your packing list, because domestically also we have this packing list when we are sending goods from one state to another state or within the same state. But when we are talking about conducting a transaction internationally, then this export packing list will specifically have the detail about the seller, about the buyer who will be the shipper or the freight forwarder, the invoice number, the date of shipment, mode of transportation, carrier, the quantity, type of good and every other basic detail. So basically this entails the very basic detailed information about the consignment that is being shipped from the exporter to the importer. So this every freight forwarder, when you this your exporter is handing over the consignment to this freight forwarder, it will give the consignment along with this packing list. So that packing list will have the entire description, right, about the goods that are there. So understand, this is not like a substitute of any other document. So per se it is not a substitute of your commercial invoice. Commercial invoice is a standalone document which is a primary document. In addition to that, there can be a packing list which may be used to check that the cargo, so that the commercial invoice should also reflect, just like a matching of the things that are there reflected into commercial invoice and onto your packing list. So a match between the two, not a substitution, right, a clear match so that it augments, it substantiates what being listed into your commercial invoice, right. Another document is your certificate of origin. Now understand the relevance of this document, because this document is one of the very crucial element of your trade. So when we say, let's suppose any phone which is being assembled in country A, but the made in country B, so that made in country B is what? That's like an origin, that's like a testament, okay, that this particular phone or a smartphone is made into this country, and through that country a repute or a excellence of the country with respect to the technology is automatically conveyed to you, right. So that is why this very document, this is like a very important document, because it certifies the country of origin of the goods. So when I say made in India, so I have to substantiate a document which talks about, which is what? Which is a certificate of origin, which says that this particular good is made in India, right. So when we claim for this made in India, we need to have a certificate of origin which needed to be provided at global level. This is again one of the very important document. It may also be required by your custom officials. Now why custom officials? Because as you are reading more about tariffs nowadays, since there is a lot talk about your tariffs and the compliance with the trade agreements. So everyone knows about the tariffs, they differ from country to country, right. India will be charging, or others may be charging India differently. Let's suppose India may be charging country a tariff of 30%. To a country B, a tariff of 40%. So herein you can say there are differential tariffs, and again that depends on to the trade agreements that India is having with that other country. So with respect to that, there is a preferential tariff rate for different countries or between different nations, right. So upon this country A and country B, let's suppose we are classified or eligible for preferential tariff. So in that case, that document of certificate of origin will be required by custom authorities so that they can offer us, or the duties can be computed according to that preferential rate of tariff. So that is why there is a very strong relevance of this certificate of origin, because it helps you provide those preferential tariffs which your nation is or may be having with any other nation, right. There are so many nations in the world, so that is why this certificate of origin is very crucial. Another point is that it's a testament, it reflects your country may be excelling into the production of grains. So let's suppose if we say that okay, that if the wheat is coming from India or the rice is coming from India or maybe any other part your article or your commodity is coming from India, so it also reflects the repute of the nation. You could say because of the natural endowment of various resources, we are actually blessed in production of many commodities, right. So let's suppose we are among those top exporters with respect to organic food products. So in order to prove or substantiate that at international level that okay, this is an organic food product, right, and this being manufactured in India, so you need to have a certificate of origin for the same. Of course, there are various other certificates that are required, but this is also one of the main crucial certificate. Similarly, if you are saying that you are an e-commerce retailer, again you need to provide a certificate of origin which is usually issued by your chamber of commerce, right. So there being a proper global standard format for this certificate of origin, so accordingly the countries would comply with and they would issue their certificates of origin, right. So in a nutshell, certificate of origin, it is like a testament to the country of origin of the goods, right. So it also is associated with the repute of a nation, is associated with the preferential tariff treatment that the nation is getting with respect to the commodities, right. So certificate of these origins, they are very crucial when conducting the trade, especially they being required by your businesses, your banks, custom officials. So annually there are millions of these certificate of origins being issued and around the world, because there are certain guidelines that being issued with respect to this certificate of origin, which again as I said that like a universal format with respect to international procedures that may be required for issuing these certificate of origin, because again there needs to be a standard body who will issue the certificate of origin. Of course, your Ministry of Commerce will be having a crucial role, is having a crucial role rather, and they are the ones who are following these guidelines, the international procedures and protocols with respect to the same. So that is why there is a standard guideline which serve as a generic mechanism which needed to be abided by these international bodies or the businesses when issuing these these COs. So the government takes care of those notes, it takes care of that proper procedure being followed. So that is why it offers like these guidelines, they offer like a guidance for chambers who wish to demonstrate that their commitment towards the high level of quality through your transparent and accountable issuance and verification procedures. So when I see that this transparent and accountable issuance and verification procedure, that means that the process itself is very transparent, right, because everyone is aware about okay, what being the steps in order to issue this certificate of origin or in order to apply for the same, and there serves a very standard document which is there applicable in case of every nation, like a recent one. So again that is why there is a proper guideline for the same, and in fact there are free trade agreements which enable the exporters so that they can self declare the origin of the exported goods without there being a formal need of your certificate of origin. So they self declare okay, that I declare, so that means that self declaration by the exporter that if I am producing or manufacturing this particular article I agree, I affirm that these goods belong to or are originated from this very country. So that ways through these FTAs also we have been trying to cut down onto the trade barriers, so that every time I need not to resort to any document, rather there could be one standard self declaration mechanism whereby I can say about that, okay, these being the goods, and I declare the origin of those exported goods without there being a proper cumbersome procedure, right. Apart from your this certificate of origin, there is another important document which is your bill of lading. Now, bill of lading is like a legal document which is like issued by the carrier or their agent, which serves as a receipt of goods and evidence of the contract of carriage. Now, understand that it is number one, a legal document. So, there is a legal compliance of the same. Number two, who will issue this bill of lading? The carrier. That means the person to whom you have handed over your cargo or the consignment. He abides that, okay, he has received your goods, and it is like a proof that, okay, this contract of carriage is between the exporter and that freight forwarder who will be conducting this transaction, and he says now he has safeguardedly taken your consignment, and he'll be further delivering the same to the importer. So basically it will entail the description about who will be the shipper, right, in case of your this ocean transportation. So it will include the description. This will be issued by your that agent or the carrier of the ship. He'll do what? He'll give you the description about the you could say the shipper, the consign, the goods being transported, and the terms of shipment. Now, what do we mean by terms of shipment is that what is going to be the deadweight freight, what is going to be the, let's suppose, what will be the type of freight that will be applicable, whether it will be onto pro rata basis, whether it will be a gross weight, whether it will be your dead weight, so or back or reverse freight also sometimes being included. So every terms of shipment will include the detailed classification with respect to how goods will be handed over and how that journey will be taken up, and during that transportation journey, what being the crucial terms of shipment with respect to your insurance, with respect to your commodities, its safeguarding, everything will be listed onto this bill of lading. Everything in a sense is it's like an issued by your carrier who is saying, okay, that I have received these goods, now the goods are there into my possession, and I give this as an evidence that, okay, there is a contract of carriage that being conducted between the exporter and this very carrier company or this agent, right. Similarly, there is a airway bill, and now as the name indicates that this is a bill which is issued by the international air carriers. So, for example, now you read about this bill of lading which is being issued by the shipping companies. Similarly, there is airway bill which is which requires the detailing about the goods that is being shipped by the international air carrier. So, it will again have that detailed information about the shipment, and it will also help to be tracked. So, through this document number, through that tracking and tracing number, you can really track in real time that where your shipment is. So, because that can be tracked in real time, so that is why this airway bill are very shipper specific, again because it is being generated by your these air carriers. So, that is why they are shipper specific and they are not negotiable. Not negotiable means whatever being the terms and condition what being listed out into these airway bills, that is what is final. So, they will say that these are our terms and condition, if you agree by the same, so then only you will be having an agreement between that air carrier company and the exporter. So, it is actually being very opposite to your bill of lading, because in your bill of lading there is also a order bill of lading which talks about that there can be negotiations with respect to terms and conditions. So, this is like a very contrary to the same, wherein we say that okay, this is not negotiable no matter what, and this is like a crucial document which will accompany the goods when they are to be shipped by this international carrier, right. So, that is why these airway bills in terms where the goods are to be shipped by this air carrier, they are very much required. So, these air freight shipments, they require these airway bills which is being issued by your international air carriers, right. Now, since we already talked about the different documents which are like the crucial ones, the common ones as we can say that are required for conducting a transaction. So, further on we will be talking about what being the important document when we are going for export, because there are different documents in case of your exports also and in case of your imports also. So, when we are running an international transaction, what being the crucial documents when it comes to export. So, number one is your pro forma invoice that we already discussed, that pro forma invoice is the like a a prelude to your commercial invoice, and what all document will it specify? This document will specify the buyer, the seller, description of the goods, and as I mentioned the HSN code, that is the harmonized system of nomenclature which is the classification for those goods, the price, payment of those terms and conditions of the sale. So, that will be expressed through those Incoterms, okay, that what being the Incoterm, whether it is CIF, whether it is X works, right. So, accordingly you would see for that what Incoterm is applicable into that very your pro forma invoice. Next is delivery details with respect to that how and where the goods will be delivered and what will be the charges of the freight for the same, what will be the currency that will be used in the quotation, right, whether it will be the standard US dollars that is being used since ages, or there will be some other denomination that is to be used for the quote. So, that means this pro forma invoice will entail all these details in the document, and these are very crucial when running an export. Similarly, the already that discussed is commercial invoice is the secondary document when you are going for exports. So, when you have already sent this pro forma invoice to your, let us suppose your importer, now you will be doing what? You will be seeing on to that, let us suppose the terms and conditions are agreed upon. So, now you will do that your paperwork so as to formalize or legalize the same, and since this is the document that will accompany the goods throughout its carriage, or it will be sent to the importer also and even to the banks for the payment settlement. So, that is why this is like a finally decided upon legal document which will be a primary document throughout the exports. So, once we have sent that pro forma invoice into those international transaction and that being agreed upon, now next step would be what? We will be legalizing the same. We will be talking about the details of entire export from pin to plane, everything will be listed out into this commercial invoice, because it will have an order number, it will be have a PO number which is a purchase order number, it will be having the customer reference number, it will be having the details of your HSN code, your price, the shipper, the seller, the buyer, then the legal jurisdiction that will be applicable in case of your dispute resolution, and then the terms of your payment, then the Incoterms that being used, the HSN classification, so as to see that whether what GSTs will be applicable or what duties will be applicable, right. So, that is why this commercial invoice is very crucial. And next, as we already discussed that packing list is the next one in the queue. So, that is used again in your, apart from domestic shipments, it is being used as like a very detailed information sheet about the goods that are being shipped. So, this freight forwarders also use these information which is given into this your packing list so as to create those bill of lading for the shipment. So, as we said that okay, this bill of lading is issued by the your shipper or the freight forwarder once he received the consignment or the goods. So, this is the packing list is what he is gonna refer to, because he is not going to unseal all the cargo. He is going to do what is, he is gonna look into your packing list, he is gonna accordingly make that your this packing list ke accordingly he is going to make your bill of lading. So, that is why it is very useful in that ways. Similarly, if I say that role of your packing list in exports, the banks would also require a detailed packing list, because it will be used when you want to present or when you want to get paid under this LC, that is a letter of credit. So, when you want to get that letter of credit, you need to provide certain documents as discussed previously. So, among those documents, this detailed packing list, this commercial invoice is again very crucial document, because it actually affirms that the goods being shipped by the exporter from that exporter's destination, and that is being handed over to the freight forwarder, right. Again, custom officials, they are in both the origin country and the destination country of your this importer, they will be using this packing list to identify that okay, what are the packed items that they need to examine, how many boxes are there, how to open the boxes, what of the goods are fragile and what of the goods needs extra care, what of the goods which are very strong and sturdy, and how to unwrap that. And instead of searching the entire shipment, they will be referring to that packing list, which will be having the detailed sheet with respect to each classification of good, with respect to classification of any fragile article or where the clamping need not to be done. So, with respect to the same, this packing list is again, so we talked about commercial invoice, we talked about pro forma invoice, then commercial invoice, then bill of lading, and this your packing list, which is actually being used to prepare this bill of lading, and which is being used to by your banks also in order to secure your letter of credit, and which is also being used by custom officials to determine your assessable value for the duties, to see how to examine the goods instead of entirely searching the entire set of your shipment. So, that is like an indication. Similarly, as we talked about your certificate of origin, that is another important document, and I have already explained that why this certificate of origin, because this certificate of origin will help you identify the preferential rates which are applicable in case of your specific nation. Similarly, for the importers also, when they are importing certain goods. So, are they going to get any preferential treatment with respect to the tariff rates, right, or are there any imports which are levied a lesser rate of your taxes. So, in order to identify the same, this certificate of origin will again be a very crucial document in your this entire course of transaction. So, through this certificate of origin, you will also see into that okay, what being the nation that is exporting, or that is the goods being originated or manufactured. So, it is like a declaration by that exporters, and as I mentioned initially, that like a self declaration which says that okay, that I testify the origin of this exports, and these are such exports which are not contravening the provisions of the customs, the provisions of the international trade, because we are not supplying something which is just to take the benefit of a preferential duty. Otherwise, if you are only seeking to get the preferential treatment of your tariffs, then again it is very contentious, because certificate of origin, the purpose of the same is to establish the sanctity of that origin or the manufacturing of the good being there in a particular country. So, like a testament to the same, as I said. So, it may be useful may be used by certain people for taking advantage, but then that is very easily detectable. So, basically we see onto that through this certificate of origin, because there are certain category of goods that are being very banned in a particular nation. So, for example, let us suppose any commodity A that is banned to be exported or may be banned to be imported into the nation. So, through that certificate of origin, we may also determine that whether that country is allowed to export that particular good or not, or whether it is allowed to import particular good or not. So, that is also like a validation about that, whether the goods that are passing through the same, they are not the banned articles that do not go to the importing country. And similarly, it is also a testament that, let us suppose a person A, he is reflecting his country, which may be any country ABC, let us suppose. So, he is saying that I hail from this country ABC and I have produced the goods in this country ABC, and the goods are, the technology, let us suppose, is not borrowed or being copied from some other nation, right. So, in that case he is testifying that okay, that these goods are belonging to my nation, I have manufactured them, I have built them. So, that is like a testament. So, in that case you are self declaring that these goods belong to your nation, and this is why you have written that this have been made in your particular nation. So, this certificate of origin will ensure that the goods have not been reshipped by the exporter after importing from some other country. So, that means you have not done what is, आपने किसी और नेशन से लेकर और फर्दर उसको रीशिप कर दिया किसी थर्ड नेशन में, that will not be possible, that will obviously be legally challenged by that other nation जिसका originally patented है, copyrighted है, या जिसका original certificate of origin है with respect to that article. So, that is what this certificate of origin also ensures. It ensures that ये जो सामान है, ये जो goods है, ये मैं रीशिप नहीं कर रहा हूँ एज एन एक्सपोर्टर कि मैंने कहीं और से शिप करवाए and now I am getting them and now I am again reshipping them to the importer to some other country, right. So, that is what is also a validation through this certificate of origin that these goods are not being reshipped. So, that herein you get to know about that there is a commercial invoice that we discussed, there is a pro forma invoice, there is a packing list, your bill of lading, certificate of origin as the crucial documents which are there required in case of your exports. There are various other documents which we will be again discussing in the further segment, but these are like the main pillars, like these are the essentials in order to conduct a transaction. There can be other documents, whereas for example your certificate of free sale or various other documents, right, but these are the ones which build the major pillars of your exports and onto which your entire export transaction is being conducted. So, right from when you already discussed it about your Incoterms or your payments of your method, so that will automatically be imbibed into your pro forma invoice or your commercial invoice, or obviously a contract of sale will be there. So, apart from that, let us suppose if you say that goods are made in India, so again a certificate of origin is there for the same. So, again when you say that you want to secure a LC and you want to prove that the goods being shipped by the exporter to the importer via that freight forwarder, so that being conducted through what? That being conducted through that LC is being secured through that commercial bill that you provided. So, that ways these documents form the very crucial element in your international trade transaction when it is being conducted between two parties, and it may be and there are different documents which are required when there is a case of your importer. So, similarly in case of your importers different documents are required, which we will be doing further. There is one more document that we need to look upon is your certificate of free sale. Though this is not like a mandated one, but this is like an evidence that certain goods, let us suppose your goods which are of medical devices, medicinal purposes, food items, your cosmetics, your biologics or biological or medical devices, they are legally sold or distributed in the open market, because various nations, they are very restricted about certain category of food products or medical devices to be exported or imported. So, when you provide this certificate of free sale, that means these goods are very freely sold in an open market, they are legally sold. This is something which you are not doing illegally, because let us suppose your country is not approving of the same, then you cannot go for the sale of those food items or cosmetics or medical equipments. So, this certificate of free sale is it tells that okay, the goods are allowed to be sold or distributed in the open market, and it is also being approved by the regulatory authorities in that country of origin. So, that is why this very certificate of free sale is, though not mandated, but it is like automatically said like a self declaration कि अगर आप एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हो तो आपकी कंट्री अलाउ कर रही है. अदरवाइज देयर विल बी contravention of the customs law, of the provisions of the custom law, and then again you will be penalized not just in the destination nation but in your origin nation, right. So, you are in your own nation. So, that is why it is very crucial to just see upon what you are exporting, just make a legal check whether it is allowed or not allowed, in what form is it allowed. Food may be different formats and form hai. So, these are the crucial documents which are required in case of your exports. So, we will be continuing the series and talking about the documents crucial for imports in the next segment. So, thank you everyone.